Today we are checking out 50 things Dr. Bright cannot do, plus a bonus 25 rules by SCP Illustrated. It's been a while since I've done an SCP reaction. On my old channel I started reacting to SCP roughly around a year ago. You know, it was a bit longer than a year because I started reacting to SCP Foundation in January 2020. And then obviously my old channel got deleted on April 2020, so it's been a while since I watched any SCP stuff. Sure, I've uploaded 1 or 2 videos here, don't really remember a lot. So, I mean, if you guys would be interested in me covering, I mean, I'm definitely going to do SCP reactions, but I want to know if people would be interested in me in recovering certain SCPs. Obviously, we could be more of a recap. It won't be a blind reaction. I know a lot of people have a fucking thing for blind reactions, and the only reactions they want to watch are blind reactions, but, you know, it is what it is. I think some recaps would be good. Catch things I missed before, get a refresher, and we can kind of continue where we left off from the old channel. But yeah, if you guys would be interested in that, let me know in the comments. Also, if you have any SCP videos you would like me to react to, leave them in the comments below. But yeah, today we have the 50 things Dr. Bright cannot do. I remember watching a video like this before. We might have actually watched some of this on the stream not so long ago. I don't think I watched all of it though. There was a video I watched that 50 things Dr. Bright's not allowed to do, which was hilarious. So yeah, hopefully this is funny too. Dr. Bright's probably the best SCP character, if you could say that, like human character at least. But yeah, we're gonna get into this video. Be sure to go check out SCP Illustrated, link in the description. Original video down there too. Be sure to subscribe if you're new. And yeah, let's go.
This video is sponsored by Paranormal Activity Books.
We'll keep it sponsored.
Blood-stained research reports, handwritten notes, and more than 200 professional artworks. Paranormal Activity Books are releasing 3 SCP art books this winter, filled with the most popular and most interesting SCP articles. To get your hands on these books, head over to the crowdfunding campaign. Backers will receive all 3 books in an exclusive slipcase wrapped in dust covers that support augmented reality. Backers also have the opportunity to be rewarded.
It's one of my favorites, rather.
With an SCP Objects Calendar, Foundation Interior Photo Pack, your own employee card, your own Level 4 access card, as well as pins, stickers, bracelets, and more. As an added bonus, 30 random backers will receive a limited edition vinyl figure of SCP. These are a
100% is SCP, the shy guy. Is it 9-6 or 9-6?
To all SCP fans, so let's go and make it possible to publish the best SCP books we've ever seen. Link in the description.
It's pretty cool. Yeah. Be sure to check that out. I mean, we're reacting to this video, so only fair we keep the sponsor. Alright, let's get into these.
Good day everyone and welcome back. Today the start of a new monthly series focusing on Dr. Bright.
He does these
Every
monthly?
month we will take a look at his restrictions and a few bonus ones submitted by the channel supporters. This video has been authorised by the following council members and administration staff, and let's begin.
I think he makes these up, right? Where's the lamb sauce?
Rule number 1. Dr. Bright is not allowed to feed anything with peanut butter to Kane.
I
Rule
see.
number 2.
Dogs love peanut butter. I'm gonna pause this a lot, by the way, because we have to dissect, well, not dissect every single one, but we gotta dissect all of them. You know what I mean? But dogs do love peanut butter.
Telling new researchers that you can tame SCP-682 with a rolled up newspaper with a tummy rub is right out.
That's death. That's
Rule
what that
number 3.
is.
No longer allowed to challenge Abel to unwinnable games like tic-tac-toe. It was 3 weeks before Abel conceded a draw.
Abel is probably one of my top 5 SCPs from the ones we watched. I need a refresher on all of the lore of him and most of them, but Abel is one of my favorites. Up there with the old man and the sand one that he showed on the cover.
Rule number 4. SCP-018 is not to be taunted.
I don't know what SCP-18 is.
Giving SCP-113 to Diogenes is just plain pointless.
I don't know what that
Rule
is
number
either.
6.
Ah, God.
Attempting to disprove 343 to 343 is a horrible idea. Agents are still studying the resulting paperweight, supposedly so heavy that 343 should not be able to lift it.
That is a contentious one too. 343, like, is he actually God or is he just a random old man who has some random powers? No one knows. The femur breaker.
Rule number 7. While it is true that no one expects the SCP Inquisition, that is only because there is no such thing. Rule number 8. Dr. Bright is not king of anywhere. Or queen.
True. You have to add the old queen because it can go into female bodies.
SCP-963 is not to be used for recreational or procreational
I
purposes.
see.
Rule number 10.
What is that?
Although it is entirely possible to use SCPs currently under the control of the Foundation to create tentacle monsters...
Tentacle monsters.
Not even if Dr. Palmer asks nicely. Rule number 11. There is no markets for SCP brand pornography. No, not even in Germany.
Is just Germany known for, like, real dark or crazy pornography? I know, like, in Cards Against Humanity, because I'm not, like, some kind of porn expert, whether you believe that or not, but, in Cards Against Humanity, there's a card called German Dungeon Porn, right? Which I never really understood. I just thought it was kind of funny, because dungeon, but I thought Japan has some crazy shit, right? Well, they're more just, like, the anime characters and stuff. I'm not too sure. Anyway, we move.
Rule number 12. Should not replace the buckshot in Dr. Cliff's shotgun shells with any of the following. Birdseed, cake sprinkles, sawdust, or glitter.
That would be pretty hilarious. I don't know if they would actually show out a gun, though.
The Better Business Bureau is not the correct agency for dealing with containment failures from horrible eldritch artifacts sold by Marshall, Carter and Dark.
Oh, I really need a refresher on Marshall, Carter and Dark. They were like the mercenary ones that sold the items, right? No, like my favorite.
Victims of SCP-217 are not toys, nor are they to be used as props at a steampunk convention.
Not too sure they are.
Rule number 15. Dr. Bright is not allowed to bargain with personnel for their souls, not even if he can get them a good deal.
I could too, so he's the devil.
Rule number 16. Don't let Dr. Bright get a sample of SCP-379. Let my laptop be the last victim.
I don't know what that is. It's like triggering, but I don't know all of them.
Rule number 17. Not allowed to go off my medication.
Okay.
Rule number 18. May not use any form of the word accident as an excuse. Rule number 19. Right. Violate the dress code even on casual Fridays. No matter how many times you say please, Dr. Bright, we won't put any of the hats you've been asking about into the dress code.
Any of the hats? What kind of hats are you proposing?
Rule number 20. If an SCP file says never to do something, it is not because we want to control your mind.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not. And Dr. Bright may not edit this document.
Edit it like Wikipedia.
Rule 21. SCP-437 is not to be handed out as weaponry to unsuspecting new researchers.
Is that the song?
22. Not even for recreational use.
Is that SCP-420J?
Rule number 23. Not allowed to send Nigerian-esque spam email to the
Nigerian-esque spam email. Dead Nigerian prince has left you millions. Need to finance a new build. Need funds to rebuild your robot god. Well, we've got you covered. Bright Foundation. Problem with your account? Act now or else. A pigeon has flown into your account. We need your bank account details to get in there and get the pigeon out. Act now before it shits on your 20s. You know what the best part about spam is? The Nigerian spam emails I've seen, they're always so stupid. And there's a lot of spelling mistakes. But they target old people, right? Because old people don't know, a lot of them don't really know the ins and outs of the internet, right? So they get this and they're like, oh, Nigerian prince, that's gonna give me money. Or they're just lonely and this one's promising them love, you know, like, and they just get catfish and send them all their money.
Rule number 24. Not allowed to lead a mobile task force just at all. In fact, just stay 500 feet away from any mobile task force at all times.
Yeah, probably correct.
Rule number 25. Not allowed to end reports with lyrics from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Notes. SCP, locking me up will only make the disease spread further. Yo, home smell ya later.
But is allowed to end with lyrics from the safety dance.
I don't know what
the interpretive dance routine, however, is forbidden until he gets lessons for the foreseeable future.
I see, he's bad at it.
Rule number 26. Dr. Bright is not allowed anywhere near a Renaissance festival, especially not with D-class in garb. Rule number 27. SCP-963 is not a joy buzzer.
Okay.
Rule number 28. If a mind-controlling SCP is discovered, it is to be turned over to the proper authorities. It is not to be used to advance himself or others higher in the Foundation. Rule number 29.
Bacon.
Dr. Bright is not a superhero of any sort, head of public relations, in charge of orientation for new staff, a doctor of psychology, made out of bacon,
A member of
in possession of an
Command.
IQ over 300, head of SCP review, or a member of maintenance staff.
How does one have an IQ over 300? That's sorry, boys. Dr. Bright is a member of Command. It's usually best not to ask for why.
Sorry, boys. Dr. Bright is a member of Site Command. It's usually best not to ask why. It's O5 Command you're thinking of. Rule number 30. There is no ethics committee. And even if there was, does anyone believe Dr. Bright would be on it?
No. No,
other than
shot.
a what not to do?
No, shot. He that's correct. Use him as an example of what not to do. Magic 8 Ball. We have a Magic 8 Ball on the Twitch stream. It's kind of stupid though.
Rule number 31. No longer allowed to make up Jodies for morning calisthenics. Yes, this includes the Mickey Mouse Club song.
Mickey Mouse Clubhouse.
Rule number
What's
32.
fun inside?
Dr. Bright is not allowed to apply SCP-963 to any major political figures.
Again.
Rule number 33. Dr. Bright is not from an alternate timeline. Dr. Bright cannot issue orders to preserve the timeline, or to corrupt the timeline, or to screw with those history nerds.
Those history nerds.
Rule number 34. Dr. Bright is not allowed to challenge anyone to a duel and then give them SCP-572. Rule number 35. Dr. Bright is not allowed near SCP-5555J in any way or in any excuse. Remember what the miniature version did to Dr.
I don't know
Rule number
who
36.
that SCP is.
Dr. Clef and Dr. Bright are not allowed to interact without the presence of a responsible administrator. Dr. Kondraki does not count as a responsible administrator, nor does Agent Strongnikov, or Dr. Mann. In fact, let's just keep the two of them apart. Period.
Probably a good idea.
Rule number 37. Chainsaws are not the solution to every question.
No.
Nor is more chainsaws. Or chainsaw cannons. Except for that one time, and yes, that was awesome.
Chainsaws.
Rule number
Ever seen that dude swing the chainsaw above his head and cut his hedges? That is, that's crazy. Shout out to him.
38. SCP speed dating never happened. Anyone who claims to remember such an event should report to Site Command for administration of a Class A amnesiac.
Let's see.
Rule number 39. Dr. Bright is not allowed to use any SCP to alter or affect the outcomes of any reality-based television shows, including, but not limited to, Survivor, Big Brother, Hell's Kitchen, American Idol, or any dating show on VH1. Not even if Dr. Wrights asks nicely.
So you can turn into Gordon Ramsay. I love Gordon Ramsay. And not just because he's British, but, he's just funny. I don't know if, he probably plays it up for the camera, right? But still.
Rule number 40. Dr. Bright is not allowed to administer spankings to Dr. Wrights as punishment, as it only causes more rules to be broken.
Spanking the monkey?
It doesn't matter that they are both consenting adults, no matter how many either of them argue otherwise. Dr. Wright is not allowed to spank the monkey, nor is she allowed to shock the monkey, or anything else relating to the monkey.
Just leave the monkey alone.
Rule number 41. SCP-082 is not to be given song requests, especially not Like a Virgin.
Oh, the very first. Oh, like Madonna's song. Yeah, that was the first SCP I reacted to on the old channel. We watched Confinement very early on, and he's in the first episode of Confinement. And I'm very baffled because, his name is... People call him Ferdinand, or at least they do in Confinement, but then it's spelt Fernand, I think. Which, it just baffles me.
Rule number 42. Accidentally spilling green gelatin on a dead body in the presence of the O5 was funny exactly once. And the smell of excrement exuding from O5-2's khakis spoiled the moment. Rule number 43. Dr. Bright is no longer allowed to utter the phrase more than 1,000 babies in the presence of any SCP personnel.
I made one
Rule number
fetus
44.
bear, I'll make 1,000 more.
Nothing in the Foundation is rated over 9,000.
Over 9,000.
Rule number
Is
45.
that a Dragon Ball Z reference? Is that what that's from?
5. Stop posting classified information on 4chan. Rule number 46. No using SCP-705 for personal gain,
Why not?
or to plant monitoring equipment, and absolutely no giving them tons of extra Play-Doh just to see what they can make.
Oh.
That mecha was damned annoying.
So it makes sign out of Play-Doh and it can... I see.
Rule number 47. If it involves doing something wrong, it isn't right.
Aye.
Rule number 48. If it involves something right, you did it wrong. Rule number
That
49.
just fucked me over.
If Dr. Bright has to ask, it's above his clearance level. If it's above Bright's security clearance, run. Rule number 50.
Probably.
Dr. Bright is not allowed to declare war on any country, thing, or person.
He strikes me as the guy who would.
Bonus rules.
Googly.
Rule number 1. Dr. Bright is not allowed within 15 metres of 173's containment chamber. Not after the banana peel incident.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Ragnarok. Is that the guy who suggested the rule? Well, that's funny. So he slipped on the banana peel. Huh.
Rule number
Classic.
2. Dr. Bright is not allowed to use SCP-035 on instances of himself to see who would win in a battle of wills.
That's funny.
Rule number 3. Dr. Bright is not allowed to modify SCP-2639-C to run any of the games from the Doom series in order to summon the Doom guy.
I don't know what that
Rule number
is.
4. Dr. Bright is not allowed to utilise his expenditure for microtransactions in video games.
$10,000 on CSGO skins, V-Bucks, armor sets, loot boxes, Raid Shadow Legends. Damn it, Bright.
Rule number 5. Dr. Bright is not allowed unsupervised access to SCP-079. We've managed to undo what you did, but 079 has requested to consult a therapist.
Oh.
Rule number 6. Dr. Bright is not allowed to request Jack Bright from SCP-294 to try and find a great female body.
Is that the vending
Liquid
machine
bodies.
thing?
Let's not allow that again.
I remember seeing the I reacted to the vending machine. Is the vending machine or is it the coffee maker I reacted to? That gives any drink you want or something. I can't remember exactly what it is.
Dr. Bright is not allowed to use SCP-956 as a piñata at any of the staff parties.
Ooh.
This also applies to any copies it produces.
Again, I'm
Rule
not too
number
sure what
8.
that is.
Dr. Bright is not allowed to dress up like SCP-053 in order to calm down SCP-682. If anything, you just made him angrier. Rule number 9. Dr. Bright is not allowed to introduce himself to new D-Class as Big Boss.
Big Boss. Hey,
Number
Big
10.
Boss man.
Dr. Bright is not allowed to install video games on SCP-079. Rule number 11. Dr. Bright is not allowed to create SCP-related media sites. The cost of censoring all accurate documents and replacing them with fake ones will be in the millions.
Hello.
Rule number 12. Dr. Bright is not allowed to yeet or yote SCP-432 off a cliff. In fact, no dropping any SCP items off of cliffs, buildings, or any high-rise structures.
Just yeet that bitch.
Rule number 13. Dr. Bright is not allowed to keep SCP-939 instances as pets.
Now, I'm not too sure what this one is, but judging by this, I don't know how many people have played SCP Containment Breach. I did, and I didn't get all the way to the end. But there's a bit where we go into this place, and there's some of these creatures, red things. There's some of these red lizard things crawling around. I'm assuming it's this.
Rule number 14. Dr. Bright is not allowed to use Foundation resources to locate the lamb source.
Where's the lamb
Rule
source?
number 15. Dr. Bright is not allowed to use Foundation resources to create his own Godzilla.
That's
Rule
probably
number
wise.
16. Dr. Bright is not allowed to use SCP-2521 to dispose of annoying SCPs or staff.
The SCP that looks like a mummy that just makes things disappear.
Rule number 17.
This is
Dr. Bright is not allowed to teach SCPs well-known phrases from various movies. Agent Woods remarks he did get a chuckle out of the 076 one though, before his sternum was broken from the Sparta kick. Rule number 18.
God damn it.
Dr. Bright is not allowed to use SCP-2137 to create sick-ass mixtapes. Rule number 19. Dr. Bright is not allowed to play Marco Polo with SCP-939.
Or is this the one?
Rule number 20.
Or are they the same number and I'm
Dr.
stupid?
Bright is not allowed access to SCP-055. Just because we can't remember what you did with it, doesn't mean you should keep seeing... Wait, what are we talking about again? Rule number 21. Dr. Bright is not allowed to sell SCP-963 on the Antiques Roadshow, Pawn Stars, or anything similar.
Show.
I know selling your soul is never a good thing, but this is just ridiculous. Rule number 22. Dr. Bright is not allowed to claim he is the Council, nor can he execute Order 682.
682. That says play on the Star Wars, but it was execute Order 6. I can't remember the number. Was it
Rule number
682?
24.
I don't think it was 682.
Dr. Bright is no longer allowed to hold flute lessons at Biosite 59. And no, the piccolo does count as a flute.
Okay.
Rule number 24. Dr. Bright is not allowed to sneak a picture of SCP-096 into the D-Class's playing cards. Horribleness.
Rude.
And rule number 25. Dr. Bright is not allowed to conduct research into the energy output of the Sun in hopes of triggering the SCP-001 event because Akira was pretty cool.
No, don't get that one.
And that concludes this entry, the first of many more Dr. Bright videos to come. I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to like and subscribe if you did.
Alright, shout out to SCP Illustrated. It's been a while. It's been a while since I watched one of his videos. That was really good. That was funny. I know that it's all satire and it's not really lore. And they made them up themselves, I think. So, I think the bonus rules were made by his Patreons and he made the other 50. A lot of them were funny. Obviously, your boy doesn't understand every single SCP because he hasn't watched them for a long time, or I just never watched or found out what they were in the to begin with. Well, all those were funny. I love Dr. Bright. He's a funny lad, and the lore and the funny things people can come up with about him, it cracks me up every time. Like, just funny guy. But anyway, be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed this reaction. Be sure to suggest me any videos you'd like me to see or watch in the future. See you all in the next one.